Welcome to The Explainer. We are breaking down 4 really key earnings reports from March 26th. From roaring recreational vehicles all the way to the silent engine of the AI boom. Let's get right into it.
So here's our game plan. We're going to cover the impressive performance of BRP, then take a look at Delivery Hero's more cautious outlook, Argan's AI-fueled surprise, and a record-breaking year for CTS Eventim. Then, of course, we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways for you as an investor.
All right, first up, BRP. And this is a story of pure dominance and just incredible efficiency in the recreational vehicle space.
So, the big hook for BRP, the number that got everyone talking, is an earnings per share of 2.21 Canadian dollars. And look, this didn't just beat Wall Street's forecast, it absolutely crushed it.
Okay, so for a little context here, BRP trades under the ticker DOO. That's on both the Toronto Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. And what do? Well, they're a powerhouse in recreational vehicles. Snowmobiles, personal watercraft, all the fun stuff.
And you got to remember, they operate in a really tough field. I mean, they're competing against absolute heavyweights like Polaris, Yamaha, and Honda. So standing out in that crowd, yeah, that makes their financial performance even more impressive.
You know, what's really remarkable here is the sheer size of the beat. I mean, they didn't just edge past expectations. They completely blew them away. This wasn't some minor win, folks. It was a blowout. And it was all driven by a super solid 16% increase in revenue.
So what was the reaction? Well, analysts are all over this, issuing a strong buy rating. And they're pointing specifically to BRP's incredible operational efficiency. See, this allowed the company to slash dealer inventories, which, by the way, eliminated the single biggest fear investors had. So the big takeaway? BRP's consistency really solidifies it as the top player to watch in its sector.
Okay, let's shift gears and move to our second story, Delivery Hero. And this is a very different picture, right? This is one of solid, but definitely cautious growth. So the headline number for them is an adjusted EBITDA of 903 million euros for 2025. Now, if you're not familiar, EBITDA is basically a measure of a company's core profitability. And a powerful 30% jump like this, that proves the underlying business is definitely strong.
Delivery Hero, which you'll find trading as DHRE in Germany, is a huge global player in the food delivery space. I mean, they're going head-to-head with giants like Uber and DoorDash in what is a fiercely competitive market, for sure.
But, and this is the twist that got the market talking, their guidance for 2026, while still showing growth, it fell just a little short of what analysts were hoping for. And that created what they call a slight miss versus expectations, and it really injected a big dose of caution into the whole story. So this led to a pretty mixed verdict from analysts, and you see that reflected in a moderate buy consensus. Now, while they're definitely noting the slowing growth, the key takeaway here is the company's projection to generate over 200 million euros in free cash flow. So, even with that caution in the air, that kind of cash generation means you simply can't take your eyes off this one.
Okay, now for what was probably the biggest surprise of the day. Argan. This is the dark horse that is being powered by the absolute explosion in artificial intelligence.
And the hook here is just, wow, it's stunning. Argan's earnings per share didn't just beat estimates, it absolutely demolished them by a staggering 73%. Seriously, nobody saw this coming. So who is Argan, anyway? Well, they trade as AGX on the NYSE, and they are in the absolutely critical business of building the power infrastructure. The stuff that the world's data centers, and by extension, the entire AI boom desperately need to even function.
Just look at the numbers. The reported EPS of $3.47 left the expected $2.13 completely in the dust. I mean, this is such a clear, unambiguous signal of the massive underlying demand for what they do.
Analysts were caught completely flat-footed by this, and now they're scrambling to reframe the whole narrative, calling Argan a silent beneficiary of the AI-driven energy crisis. And honestly, that is the perfect description.
So, what's the bottom line here? It's simple. This surprise performance, which is tied directly to the AI boom, is forcing everyone to totally rethink what Argan is worth. And that makes it a critical story for investors to understand right now.
All right, on to our final company, CTS Eventim, which just posted a historic record and really shows the enduring power of live experiences. And the headline number here is, it's just massive. For the first time ever in the company's entire history, CTS Eventim broke the €3 billion barrier in consolidated revenue. That is a huge milestone.
So they trade as EVD in Frankfurt, and they are a dominant force in ticketing and live entertainment. A good way to think of them is as a major European competitor to those giants you know, like Ticketmaster and Live Nation.
And their brand is sitting right at the center of a sector, live entertainment, that has just proven to be incredibly resilient. We're seeing consumers prioritize experiences now more than ever.
The numbers look strong across the board, and the verdict from analysts? It is crystal clear. We're talking an overwhelming 84% buy consensus. They're seeing a potential 60% upside from here, and they're highlighting that the entire live entertainment sector has proven to be remarkably resilient to inflation.
And here's what's really crucial for the future. With over half its margins now coming from some really aggressive international expansion, Eventim is now seen as the premier way for investors to play this unstoppable global live entertainment boom.
Okay, so after that rapid-fire blitz, let's pull back for a second and summarize the key investor takeaways for each of these four pretty distinct market stories. All right, let's recap the main idea for each company. For BRP, it's all about dominance and efficiency. For Delivery Hero, you've got that cautious growth but with powerful cash generation. For Argan, well, it's that massive AI surprise. And for CTS Eventim, it's a pure play on the boom in global live entertainment.
So there you have it. We've laid out four very distinct stories of performance and potential, and each one is being driven by very different forces in the global economy. The only question left is, which of these stories is going to define your investment strategy?